Well, welcome back, folks. I tell you, Dave, this just keeps rolling, bud. We got so many of these lined up, more to come. But we have a very, very special one, and our good friend Marnie set this up.
Absolutely.
Marnie's she has been always been a dear friend, becoming a huge supporter of this little platform that we have. We're very excited to talk to this lady.
We are, and this is again, this is a big kudos off to Marty Farron, who hooked us up with Joan Kirby. Joan and Doug Kirby had one of the premier talent agencies back in, well, 70s, 80s anyhow. She's going to tell us more about the timelines and who she represented. And it was important back then to have good representation because you couldn't get the good gigs without it. So this is going to be our new friend, Joan Kirby, and we're going to see her pop up here in a second. There she is. Is her name.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you too. Can't see you, but I can hear you.
And we can't see you. All of a sudden.
It says my video. It says my video was stopped.
Okay. Well, you know what? We'll see if we can't fix that.
Okay, I'm starting it again.
Okay. There you are. We see you now.
Well, I can't see you, so hi.
You'll have to pretend that we're very handsome young men.
I know you two are. That's fine. It's all in the brain. I can just picture it. It's okay. It's okay. Oh my. Joan, okay.
Joan, thanks so much for doing this, and this is great. We've really over the last. I mean, this is a 13-day endeavor so far, and your name, Doug's name, keeps coming up. So with just. Well, let's just you just tell us where you want to start here because we've heard so many stories.
Well, I'll tell you where we'll start. We'll start basically 1969 because that's when we started being involved with managing and booking bands. And one of the first bands was a band called 5 Year Plan. It was just a bunch of friends that Doug knew. Well, they became Killer Egg, and Killer Egg became one of the most popular bands in the Maritimes.
Von Shepherd.
Von Shepherd and Billy Scullion and Jimmy Stade and I can't remember the rest of them. But that would have been in 1970. So we lived in St. John, New Brunswick at that time. We moved to Moncton in 1971, and we started booking bands into clubs. It was a new thing. We had no idea what we were doing. At that time, Hazen Horseman was living in Moncton. And he had the Hazen Horseman Light and Extravaganza show. And Hazen was a character, as we all know. And he came to work for us as an agent. And we started booking around the Maritimes. And we said, geez, this is really great. And then we hired Joe Bamford, who was in Fredericton. He had an agency called Top 10 Talent. And he came to Moncton. And he actually he's still in the business. He's still a promoter. I was just in touch with him last week, which is wonderful. So anyway, in 74, no, I'm going to back up just a bit. We started hearing about clubs in Halifax. One of them was the Misty Moon. And we started booking bands in there. And we had an awful hard time. Everything we seemed to do was I canceled 2 dates out because the lead singers left both bands, and I thought I can't do this. Like, I can't send the band, and I had to cancel twice just before the band was supposed to start. And I thought, Terry will never talk to me again. But anyway, in 74 we moved to Halifax, and that was a big deal. That was a huge deal. We all moved into the same house, the whole office staff. We moved to the top of Godigan Street. Hazen Horseman lived with us, my secretary, my 3 kids, and Doug and myself in a townhouse. And we moved in February of 1974, right in the middle of Winter Carnival for the universities, which was a huge deal. We had touring bands all over the place, and we were trying to keep track of them with contracts all over the floor, and it was just nuts. It was crazy. But I wasn't working in the office at that time. I had 3 little kids. By September, I was going crazy. And I said, I have to go back to work. I can't take this. Oh, well, do you want to come to the office and do contracts? I said, no, I want to do more than that. So I dove into the music business. I started managing bands. I just started to do the whole thing. Went on road trips, visit clubs. And from 1974 to 86, which is the year we moved to Toronto, it's a big blur. It's one big year. Everybody in Halifax knew everybody. You would go to a club and you would know everybody there. All the musicians went to see other musicians. All the road crews went. It was the most amazing time. I know you've heard all about this, but it's so true. It's like it was a huge music community, and I likened it to the Village in Toronto. Only it was different than that. Even the Village wasn't as good as we were. It was phenomenal. But I think the turning point in the Halifax music scene, at least in my estimation, and I'll be a little biased, we put Long John Baldry in the Misty Moon.
Mhm.
Prior to that, the Misty Moon was a show club. Mostly it was a black club. I have to use the right terms now. I'm hoping to use the right terms. But the bands that would come from the States, they were show bands. They were amazing bands, but they would do 4 sets, all kinds of, costume changes and all that. But Terry wanted to change the club. Well, changing it from a black club and putting Long John Baldry in we didn't know if it was going to work. Well, it did. I remember parking the car, looking down Kennard Street and seeing this lineup all around the block. And I was just, to me, that was the day it changed. Right.
Wow.
There. It was the most amazing thing. Every musician went to see Long John Baldry. Because it was the first time we had ever seen any rock come into the Maritimes of that magnitude. At least, again, my estimation, maybe there was before, but it just seemed it never happened before. And then from there, we just start pumping them in. Ask me a question.
Well, yeah.
I don't want
My
to
first question
monopolize.
is, here's my first question, Joan. Now, we're kind of spoiled rotten today with emails and instant messaging and what have you. I mean, you would have had how many bands on your roster back in 1974?
I'm going to send you guys a roster. Actually, I think I got one. We probably had about 40 bands on the roster.
How in the name of God were you able to send contracts, send promo pictures, to do all this stuff? You would have had to know about the gigs 4 to 6 weeks ahead of time to send it through regular mail.
Yeah, quite often. However, where our money was spent was our phone bill. Our phone used to cost $5,000 a month.
Wow.
Wow.
That was
Incredible.
the problem.
In
And
1974.
and back then, we were dealing a lot with agents in Ontario and in the States, outside the Maritimes. The way the phones used to be billed back then is that it was by area. It cost us more money to make a call from the Maritimes to Ontario than it was for Ontario to call us. So our phone bills were astronomical. And we would make our own promo. We made our own. Can you still see me?
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So you've talked to Marnie Van Wart. She told you she did publicity and stuff. We made our own posters. We had no choice. We couldn't afford to have them printed all the time. So, I mean, some of them we did, of course, but we had in-house, we would do it ourselves. I would cut, Marnie probably told me, cutting out pictures and pasting them. And that's what we did. And Marnie would put up the posters on telephone poles. That's how we got the word out.
Right on. She
So,
had
but
nothing
no,
but huge praise for you, Marty and our private conversations. She said, Joan Kirby is an absolute master of promotion. You need to know what she knows, right?
Wow, well, that was we had a long conversation yesterday. It was so nice to talk to her again.
And it's her birthday. We should say it's Marty's birthday today.
I wished her happy birthday. I certainly did.
But this is before fax machines, before, so how would you, it's hard for us to even fathom. I mean, so you had yourself and Doug and Hazen working for you.
Yes,
Marnie
and then
go ahead.
Marnie, we had two girls working for us at the time. One was a receptionist, one did contracts. You had to work at the office at that time. We did have a fax machine. As soon as fax machines became, sort of available, we jumped right on it because I thought, oh my God, we have to do this. So that became quite a deal. But it was the sending out a promotion that we had to do, because back then it was CDs. So we would have to send press kits, and the clubs would say, okay, I need 3 press kits and I need 6 CDs. We would package that up and mail it. Our mailing was very expensive as well. But we had a whole, I don't remember the cost of what it would be, but it was a lot. And we had promo packages going out on a daily basis to clubs and universities. Universities were huge back then too.
So you mentioned Joan, you had about 40 acts on your roster. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So drop a few names just so people will get up to speed.
Well, I actually, when I say that, during that time, the local bands that we booked, well, Matt Minglewood was the main one, of course, because my husband and Matt actually became business partners. Doug was his manager for years. That was an incredible time for us. My God, the whole Maritimes, we got caught up in the whole Minglewood thing. It was absolutely phenomenal. I'm looking at a thing on my wall that was signed when he signed with RCA, and it says, "We believe in Minglewood." And Matt signed it, and Doug signed it, and the people from RCA signed it. And I remember when we signed with RCA, they had a big sort of press conference, and we did it out in a boat in the harbor. They flew down, and we did it on a boat. And the representative from RCA at that time, they were based in Montreal, was a girl named Kathy Hahn, who is still one of my best friends to this day. She's still in the business. But I just, that's when I first met her. So, I mean, all the people that we met back then and that were involved, they're still working away. And what amazes me so much is that all the bands that we did book during, 70s and 80s, basically, they're all still playing. I can't believe it. I mean, everybody, look at Wayne Nicholson, for example. Wayne is still incredible. Like everybody, it's. But anyway, the local bands that we booked, God, it's so hard to remember. Killer Egg. We did book Snake Eye for a while. They were booked by a few different agents, but we did as well. I'm trying to think of the local bands that we booked. My God, most of that time was done bringing in touring acts. We focused on that, and we were one of the first to do that. So that's my main focus.
So who would have some of those acts that you would have brought in back in the day?
That I have. It just so happened that a few months ago, I decided to make a list of all the bands that we booked. Now this is up here too, but I highlighted the ones that we did in the Maritimes that we brought in. So I'll just, they're alphabetical, but this is the type of bands that we brought in. Average White Band, Billy Idol, Billy Preston, Blue Peter, Bo Diddley, Bob McBride Band, Bobby Grotola, Bowser, Buddy Knox, Burton Cummings, I booked that one myself, Charlie Daniels Band, Chicago Knockers Female Mud Wrestling.
Nice.
We booked that in the universities, and we actually had Sam Moon get in the ring with them one time, covered with mud. Remember that one? That was one of Hazen's deals, by the way.
That sounds like a Hazen deal.
Yeah.
It was strictly a Hazen deal. We brought in Commander Cody and the Lost Planet Airmen, the Cooper Brothers, Crowbar, Del Shannon, Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show, Duck Dunn from the Blues Brothers, Dutch Mason. Well, everybody booked Dutch, but I've known Dutchy seems like all my life. I just have to, I'm going to regress for 1 second.
Shoot.
Before Doug and I got married, when he was about 18 or 19, he was actually a drummer for Dutch Mason. And Dutch said, Doug, this was after a few weeks, he said, Doug, you're a really terrible drummer, but you're a really good booker. So I want you to keep booking me, but I'm sorry, you got to leave the band. So that's my Dutch Mason story. So I've known Dutch all my life. Brought in the Edgar Winter Group several times.
Wow.
Elvin Bishop, George Thorogood and the Destroyers right off the Rolling Stones tour. And that was an incredible show. We did 4 nights at the Misty Moon on Camp Road, sold out every night. It was incredible. I remember that so well. Greg Allman, Harlequin. There was a band from the States called High Octane that we used to bring in, and we actually managed them. It was an American band. They were phenomenal. Brought in Howie Mandel, Ike and Tina Turner, Jay Giles, James Cotton, Jerry Lee Lewis, John Hammond, John Lee Hooker, Johnny Winter Group, Kathy McDonald, who sang with Long John Baldry, Kenny Rogers, Burley from the Stampeders, Chris Christopherson, Lighthouse. We did the first Maritime tour. Lisa Del Bello, Liverpool, Long John Baldry, McLean and McLean, Matt Guitar Murphy from the Blues Brothers, Matt Minglewood, of course. Michael Quattro, I don't know if you remember, familiar with Michael Quattro. Michael Quattro and Susie Quattro were brother and sister from Detroit, and they were, we brought them in. We also did dates on the Monster Truck. Again, that was a Hazen thing that he did, but we did Monster Truck shows. Muddy Waters, Ocean, put your hand in the hand, we even brought them in. Rheingold with Larry Gowan. That was a band he was in before he went solo. Rick Derringer came in a couple of times. Roy Buchanan, Roy Orbison, Sheriff, Shanana, Stampeders, Stray Cats, Three Dog Nights, Thunder Mug, Tower of Power, remember that show well.
Yes.
Tres Hombres, Wild Tea in the Spirit, and the wonderful grand band from Newfoundland. That's what I remembered. It was just
Those
phenomenal.
days are mind-boggling. Like Joan, I'm sitting there listening to, and I'm one of those acts you just talked about. I'm going, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. They're
I
huge
know.
names.
It was the most amazing. It was just amazing to that we could do this. Prior to these bands coming to the Maritimes, the hardest part about bringing these bands to the Maritimes was that the agents couldn't figure out where in the hell we were. They
Right.
didn't know anything existed east of Montreal. They had no idea that the Maritimes existed.
So let me ask the question, Joan. So it wouldn't be just in Halifax, and I don't know if it would just be at the Misty Moon or the Palace or Matador back then. Would you set up a whole leg of a tour, or would it be from here to Moncton?
Oh God, yeah. Oh no, Halifax, the Misty Moon was the most, popular. But oh no, we would do Charlottetown. There was the Showboat in Charlottetown. We would do dates there. We took a lot of bands to Newfoundland as well. Newfoundland needed bands. It was because they didn't have a whole lot of bands located there. So I could go see a new band, say in the basement. And I thought, wow, you guys are pretty good. I could guarantee them 6 weeks, full weeks work and say, okay, I'm going to send you to Newfoundland to tighten up. And I could do that. And everybody, all the agents did that because they would take these bands. It was bands made a living back then. They were working every night. There were one-nighter. The high schools ran a lot of these bands. That the high schools would book touring acts. I remember Prince Andrew and Dartmouth High would run on weekdays, and then we would book the weekends at universities. It was the most amazing time. It's unheard of now.
It's you mentioned, and it's funny because Dave and I both chuckled at the same time when you said the line. We finally figured out who probably coined the phrase, "We're going to send you to Newfoundland to tighten up."
Yeah, no, you did. Well, unfortunately, we said that, and it was true. But if you could last 6 weeks in Newfoundland, the band would stay together. Quite often, band.
It's true. It's a very good point. It's not
I
just
know.
not just to tighten up the music, but it was just to tighten up mentally. If you could withstand, the climate change and the environment change, and you could come back together as one piece, and yeah, you're going to make it for at least a year, so it'd be worth your while to invest in. I get it.
Yep. No, but but there were some bands that didn't. They would break up over there.
Yep.
It happened.
So-
But
We were chuckling too when you mentioned Hazen, because when Dave and I first got in business, Hazen, and I don't know if he had just started Star Maker, but that's right around the time that Dave and I kind of got in the business.
Right.
And I remember the first time I met Hazen, and it was just like, I remember thinking, this guy is like every cliche of booking agent that I've ever seen in my life, but awesome guy, and everybody's got a Hazen Horseman story. How long did he work with you?
He worked with us. We started with Hazen in 1970, and he worked with us, right up to the 80s.
Wow.
I mean, we were never. He started an agent like Scorpio. He went with Scorpio Talent, and but we were still friends. I mean, the thing is, Halifax is a big little city.
Right.
I mean, everybody. Everybody knew everybody, and it was just, you couldn't hold grudges. You couldn't. It just wasn't worth it. It just wasn't. And in fact, the last time I saw Hazen, you remember when they had the reunion at the Forum with all those bands?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I was there, and then everybody was there that night. It was the most incredible thing. I remember Scrapper being there. He's passed away now, but Hazen was there. Dutchie was there. That's the last time I saw Hazen. He died not too long after that.
Can I share with you a real quick Hazen Horseman story? And I think you'll like it. I said, can I share with you a very quick Hazen story? I think you'll like it.
Oh, absolutely.
So I was playing in a band, and one morning I get a phone call. Sean, it's Hazen. You got to get down to the Burger King parking lot at Tacoma Drive in Dartmouth. It's like, you're opening for Platinum Blonde in Bathurst. I'm like, okay, this is going to be great. We're figuring we're all hanging out there. We're going to meet. We're going to go to the airport or something. Anyway, I'm like, we're here, Hazen. What do we do? He goes, call a cab.
Call a cab?
We got a cab from Dartmouth to Bathurst. At the time, it was about $400, and we got there like with 20 minutes to spare. And I just remember Hazen, call a cab, boy, call a cab. You got to get up there. You're on at 8 o'clock.
You're working it, Jim. You're working it, Jim.
Unfortunately, Hazen had a reputation for that. There was a lot of well, actually, I get a little story. It's a general story. The club owners, we could never. Hazen canceled a lot of dates on club owners because, I hate to say this, maybe I should.
It's okay. You're in a safe spot.
Well, thank you. I feel safe. He would book a band, in there, knowing full well that he was going to cancel that band out and put another band in, but he wanted to hold the date. He would do that, and Doug and I were just like, I said, Hazen, you can't keep doing that. The club owners aren't going to book with you. But guess what? They never stopped. They just didn't care. He was such a character that people didn't care.
It was all about building relationships then, eh, Joan? It still kind of is. But I mean, you used to go visit these clubs, shake the person's hand, meet them in person, and you had to build their trust, right?
Yes. In my particular case, I had a little harder time. I was one of the first female agents, and I had a hard time with some of these clubs taking me seriously.
I was going to mention that. It would have been a tough time for you. This is the 70s. I mean, you haven't even hit women's lib yet. You know what I mean? So.
No, that's right. Yeah, it was a time. I remember a specific incident in Yarmouth. There were two clubs that were rock clubs, and I was booking Harlequin, and I had called up one of the clubs because I wanted to book Harlequin there, and I said, okay, I got Harlequin on tour. I got them in Halifax. They were at the Misty Moon, actually, the last one on Barrington, and I said, And I said, I've got a, particular date open. He said, yeah, sure you do. And I thought, what the hell? And I said, excuse me? Yeah, sure you represent Harlequin. And I thought, okay. So I hung up the phone and I called up his competitor across the street. And I told him what had happened. So he's, I'll book him. I said, thank you very much. So the first club called me and wanted the band. I said, no, sorry. But that's a kind of thing that I was up against. But I did go on the road. I hopped in the car and left out with the kids quite often and went along and visited the clubs that I booked, because you had to, as you said, you had to be there in person.
Sure.
It very, very, and I mean, and where do you live now, Joan?
I'm in Waterdown, which is just west of Toronto, about an hour west.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, I lived in Toronto for a number of years. The
Oh,
way
okay.
that it is now, there's it's quite different. The cabaret sort of thing is not here anymore. You still have
No.
cabaret, but we still have that small town sort of networking aspect. The things you got to go out and shake the hands and kiss the babies and what. Right. So, for you, where was the turning point where people, I guess, started dealing with you, if you will, where you weren't a woman, you were somebody that was a respected business person? When did you feel that changed?
That would have, I can't remember well, I don't know if it ever changes. To be honest, I keep thinking I have to prove myself. I don't know what to say here.
I know what you're saying.
I always, yeah, it's a little tricky. I'm kind of tenacious a little bit, and I don't get firm or anything, but I name drop, I guess. Maybe I'll name drop.
You know what? You probably, in my opinion, like for a woman back in the 70s and 80s in this industry would have had to work twice or three times as hard as a man did, which is unfortunate and unfair. But you obviously did it, Joan, because I mean, the folks we talked to, your name keeps coming up as like, oh my God, well, Joan and Kirby and Joan was there and Joan was there and Marnie, oh my God, saying your praises like you wouldn't believe. So we're being in school, Sean and I being a little bit schooled this, we came into the scene in the late 80s. So I mean, the magic was still there, but we didn't hit the 70s, in the early 80s part where you folks worked so hard, developed so many relationships, and really paved the way for so many of the people. So we
I was so passionate about what I was doing. Yeah. I really was. I just couldn't believe that we had the fortune of being able to work in the music business. People would ask me what I did for a living, and I said, well, I'm an agent. Well, oh my God, that's fantastic. And it was, and it still is. Not too many people get to work in the music business.
No. Was it a good living back then? Like, was it because you hear different things, was it a good living back then?
It was. We sustained. Expenses were very high, as I said. For example, a phone bill, $5,000 a month, which is a lot of money. But the thing is, if you stop, you would go under. All you got to do is keep a cash flow going, and you can sustain. And that's what we did. Same as bands. We were all trying to make a living about doing things we loved. And everybody loved what we were doing in Halifax at that time. It just was so different. And I'm still in touch with everybody in the Maritimes.
Which is awesome. That is
awesome. Oh my God. It's the best part of the day. And we all share the memories. To have all these people sharing the same memories. Oh my God, there's nothing like it. It's just,
we're down to the last couple of minutes now, Joan. Like, what would you like us to know? Like, again, here's Sean and I, two youngins, if you will, in the industry. I mean, but we're still trying to pave the way for the next generation too. So we know it's changed. We know it's changed. We've talked about light shows. We talked about sound components. We talked about representation from agencies. It's changed, and people don't seem to see the focus on that anymore. You've gone to from a 9-piece show band to a 2-piece duo. And that's what
Yeah.
the Halifax scene is, which is unfortunate.
I know
Should be
that. I know. I would not want to be an agent today. I don't know how you would make a living. I just don't know. Back then we were lucky. People paid money. Like there was a guarantee, a good guarantee when a band played. Now
Right.
it's the door, or actually up here you pay to play
Right.
too, which is just, it's totally reversed. I don't know if I could exist in today's world doing that.
I bet you
But,
could. I bet you would reinvent the wheel, Joan Kirby. I bet you
well,
would.
I actually am a big fan of a maritime artist, Christine Campbell.
Yes.
Christine and Blake, I've done 3 house concerts up here with them.
And a baby.
And they just had a baby, yes. I think they're phenomenal, and I try to help them. I got them some dates in Toronto when they were here, must be almost 2 years ago now, just trying to help. But it's like, I just want so badly to help them. I don't even know what you do. Christine's very smart. She's takes care of her career. But now musicians have to do it themselves. They
Sure.
have to. And that's the biggest change. When we were booking the bands, the local bands in the 70s and 80s, we were managing them too, not because we wanted more money for managing. We had to help them because we were all new at this, trying to figure out what do we do next, so we became their managers too. It's not
It's
like that now.
yeah, it's certainly a different time because I mean, very little of that exists now. I have one quick question for you. You
Certainly.
mentioned a place on Gottingen Street. Where in
Yeah.
Gottingen Street was that? Because after talking to you, I feel like there should be some plaque that it should be like some sort of heritage site for the arts and entertainment sector in Halifax.
Yep.
Corner of Gottingen and the Canard.
Is that the house where you lived?
Where your business was. I don't know where was your business, Joan?
No, we were down on Spring Garden Road.
Oh, okay.
Where in Gottingen Street? Where was that townhouse that you talked about?
At the very top. That's where we lived. We didn't have an office there. But at the very end, there's I can't remember the name of it. Cowie Hill? No. It's at the very end of Gottingen Street.
Yeah.
Just at the very end.
No,
but our office was on Spring Garden Road.
No, there's got to be a commemorative plaque or something put there because I mean that's in itself is just incredible having that many people under one roof that were making things happen. It was pretty cool.
Oh my God, it was insane. But the thing is, I was feeding them all when they would come home, and I thought, I got to do something. This is crazy. But it was quite. Oh, the other thing too, we moved there in February, and so we were all living in the house. So anyway, come spring and summer, Celia, who's our secretary, she found a place to live, and Hazen wanted to stay in my garage. I said, you cannot live in my garage, Hazen. You have to find a place. He was determined he was going to turn my garage into his house. I remember
I'm thinking he could probably eat too. I'm just guessing that Hazen could probably eat.
Well, I remember when Hazen was on a diet. We had an office on Dresden Road at the time, and Hazen would go and he'd order this pizza and a Diet Coke. So the Diet Coke was the diet. I remember that really well. Oh my God.
Incredible. That's incredible.
Oh my God. All right, we're down to the last couple minutes here then. So really quickly now, Joan, and you're still in the industry then. So you're still doing this.
I do. I still do immigration for Canadian bands going to the States and American bands coming here.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, which is a whole other story. It's changed somewhat. I did immigration actually back in the 70s. I actually was instrumental in getting Long John Baldry's landed immigrancy.
Wow.
And what I remember, one day, I'm only 4'10". John Baldry is what, 6'7". We were walking down Spring Garden Road to the immigration office. I still remember that. It looked kind of funny, but it's I have kept up on immigration all these years, and I'm one of the few people in Canada that do it actually.
Your agency was called
Well, the main one was Kirby Charles Organization, KCO.
PCO, right.
What was the main one, and that's what that we brought in the bands under that name, and we managed Matt Minglewood under that as well. So, yeah.
And I know you
So
lost. Go ahead.
I'll go ahead. Go ahead.
I say you lost Doug too soon. You know, and I read.
We did.
It was amazing the folks that showed up for that for his ceremony. Just the names that were being dropped. It's like, oh my God, it's Brian Adams. I'm thinking Charlie Acorn is Gus Tiger, big name from Canadian. Like he was, as are you, totally respected this industry. So we don't want you to think here in the Maritimes that we forgot about you. And this is kind of why we want you to have on.
No, nobody's forgotten me. When I go home, they treat me so well. I just feel like very special. I just have to put a shout out to Gary Stanhope and Ellen Stanhope. I stay at their house when I'm there. They're my best friends, and
Awesome.
And they take me everywhere to see everybody. I get to see Sam Moon and Doug McKay, and we just make sure we see everybody when I'm home. And I so badly want to come home this summer, especially.
All right, let's get Joan.
Barstools